Hi friends, in this second video related to units and measurement, first we will understand what is measurement, we will define unit, will state the characteristics of a universally acceptable unit, then we will come to know what is magnitude or numerical value of a quantity, then we will understand how a physical quantity will be represented. Then we will classify the units depending upon their existence, and then we will define all fundamental units. Now you should be ready with your pen and notebook to make notes of important points for your future revisions. Say first we come to measurement. Then measurement of what? Measurement of a physical quantity. Then what is required for measurement? To measure a physical quantity, we will always be requiring a reference standard of that quantity. And that reference standard of the quantity used to measure given a known quantity will be called unit of the quantity. So unit means the reference standard of a quantity used to measure that quantity. Here it should be understood that for measurement of mass we will be requiring a reference standard of mass. To measure length we will be requiring a reference standard of length. It means length will be measured by the unit of length. Mass will be measured by the unit of mass. Say we are having a unit of mass as 1 kg. Using 1 kg neither we can measure length nor we can measure time or any other physical quantity. It means 1 kg can be used to measure mass only. Thus to measure a physical quantity, always unit or reference standard of that quantity will be required. Now anything cannot be used as a unit. Say initially for measurement of length we were using cubit length, arm length, foot length, but all these were not same for all people in the world, hence could not be accepted as the units. So a universally acceptable unit must have a few properties. First, it should be of convenient size. Second, it should not change with place or time. Third, it should be defined without any doubt. It should not be perishable, that is, it should not get destroyed at its own. And last, if it perishes, it means if gets destroyed, then it should be easily reproducible. If a unit will have all these characteristics, then that will be considered to be universally acceptable unit. Now next is magnitude or numerical value of quantity. In measurement, what will we do? We will compare the given unknown quantity which is to be measured with the unit that is reference standard of that quantity. Means we will determine how many times our unit is present in that unknown quantity. Say I am taking length of this marker as the unit of length, and I want to measure the length of the board. Then length of the board is unknown quantity, length of the marker is reference standard for the measurement of length. Then what will I do? I will find out how many times the length of this marker is present in the length of the board. If length of marker is present 20 times in the length of board, then I will say that the length of the board is 20 times the length of the marker. Length of the marker will be unit, while 20 times will be the numerical value. It means numerical value or magnitude of a quantity determines how many times our unit is present in the quantity. Say, if I am saying my length is 6 feet, then it means magnitude is 6 and unit is feet. In the same way, if I am saying that length of the board is 2.5 meter, then magnitude or numerical value is 2.5 and unit is meter. In the same way, if I am saying my mass is 90 kg, then 90 is numerical value and kg is unit. It means always to represent a physical quantity, we will be requiring two things. One, numerical value of the quantity. Second, unit of the quantity. And hence, a physical quantity will always be represented as the product of its magnitude with its unit. It is the representation of physical quantity. Every physical quantity will be represented as the product of magnitude of quantity with its unit. Now, next is classification of units. Depending upon the existence of unit, the units will be classified into two types. One, fundamental or basic units. Second, derived units. Fundamental or basic units are the units that have their independent existence. It means they have their own existence. They do not depend upon other units for their existence. While derived units will be the units which will be obtained by multiplying or dividing fundamental units. In another way, you may say that fundamental or basic units are the units of fundamental physical quantities, while derived units are the units of derived physical quantities. In previous video, we had learned that area is length square. If area is length square, then it means SI unit of area will be meter square. It means meter is the fundamental unit. Meter will be multiplied twice to get the SI unit of area. In the same way, we had multiplied length 3 times to obtain volume. So SI unit of volume will be meter cube. Means unit of length will be multiplied 3 times to get unit of volume. In the same way, force was mass into length upon time square. So SI unit of force will be SI unit of mass, that is kg, into SI unit of length, that is meter, upon SI unit of time square, that is second square. In the same way, coefficient of viscosity eta was mass upon length into time. So SI unit of coefficient of viscosity will be kg per meter per second. And from here we can see that whatever powers we had raised over the fundamental physical quantities in order to obtain derived physical quantities, same powers will be raised over fundamental units in order to obtain derived units. So we can say that the dimensions are the powers raised over fundamental units in order to obtain derived units. It means dimensions of a physical quantity can be defined as the powers raised over the fundamental units in order to obtain unit of that derived quantity. Now we will define the fundamental units. Now fundamental units are the units of fundamental physical quantities, and we know that fundamental physical quantities are length, mass, time, temperature, electric current, luminous intensity, amount of substance, angle and solid angle. So their units will be fundamental units. So first, the SI unit of length. The SI unit of length is meter. Here I am saying SI unit means you must be knowing about the system of units. Actually, initially mechanics was considered to be the sole physics, and in mechanics we use only length, mass and time. So initially quantities involved in physics were considered to be only three quantities: length, mass and time. Hence the initial systems of units were based upon the units of these three quantities. Say if we come to the first MKS system, if we are measuring length in meter, mass in kilogram, time in second, then it will form MKS system. There is a French system called CGS system. If we are measuring length in centimeter, mass in gram, time in second, then system will be called CGS system. But if we are measuring mass in pound, length in foot and time in second, then the system will be called FPS system or British system. Later on, after discovery of electric current, we were giving name MKSA system to the system of units. MKSA, mass in kg, length in meter, time in second and electric current in ampere. So meter, kilogram, second, ampere, MKSA system. But now we know that there are 9 fundamental physical quantities and a number of other physical quantities. So a system of units that includes units of all possible physical quantities is system international units or international system of units called SI units. So the fundamental SI units are first meter, the unit of length. Now how to define meter? There are various ways of defining a meter. Initially it was defined as 1 upon 10 million of the distance between pole and equator, but it was not possible to actually measure this distance, though it was possible to calculate it theoretically, but practically we were unable to measure this distance. Hence this definition was discarded. Later on we were defining 1 meter in terms of wavelength of orange red light in the emission spectrum of krypton 86. When krypton 86 is heated, then at a particular temperature it begins to emit orange red light, and the length containing 1650763.73 waves of that orange red light will be called 1 meter. Thus, in terms of wavelength of orange red light, 1 meter was defined as the distance containing 1650763.73 waves of orange red light in the emission spectrum of krypton 86. But nowadays 1 meter is defined in terms of speed of light in vacuum. We know that the speed of light in vacuum is 299,792,458 meter per second. Hence, we can say that in 1 second light travels a distance 299,792,458 meter. So the distance 1 meter will be covered by light in vacuum in 1 upon 299,792,458 of a second. So we can say that 1 meter is defined as the distance covered by light in vacuum in 1 upon 299,792,458 of a second. Now next is kilogram, and definition of kilogram was given in terms of mass of a cylinder made up of platinum iridium alloy and placed in International Bureau of Weights and Measures. There is an International Bureau of Weights and Measures in Sevres near Paris, and in that bureau there is kept a cylinder made up of platinum iridium alloy with its height equal to its diameter, and mass of that cylinder is considered to be 1 kilogram. In the same way, meter was also defined. It was said that in International Bureau of Weights and Measures there is placed a rod made up of platinum iridium alloy, and it bears 2 marks over it, and separation between these marks at 0 degree Celsius is considered to be 1 meter. But this type of definitions are discarded because this type of prototypes can be prepared at homes also. So what is the next definition of kilogram? Later on, 1 kilogram was defined in terms of force producing an acceleration in the body. If a force of 1 Newton applied on a body produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square, then mass of the body will be said to be 1 kg, because m is equal to F upon A. F is 1 Newton, A is 1 meter per second square, then mass will be 1 kg. Later on, this was also changed, and now we use the definition of 1 kg in terms of density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Since density of water at 4 degrees Celsius is 1 gram per centimeter cube, the volume of 1000 centimeter cube of water, 1000 centimeter cube of water means 1 liter of water. It may also be said to be 1000 ml of water, 1000 milliliter. It means 1 ml is 1 centimeter cube. Centimeter cube is sometimes also written as cc. Cc means cubic centimeter. So density of water at 4 degrees Celsius being 1 gram per centimeter cube, mass of 1 centimeter cube of water at 4 degrees Celsius will be 1 gram. Hence, mass of 1000 centimeter cube of water at 4 degrees Celsius will be 1000 gram, and 1000 gram is 1 kilogram. So 1 kilogram can be defined as the mass of 1 liter of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Now next is second. To define second, we had used initially the duration of solar day. Interval between 2 consecutive noons is termed as a solar day, and average duration of all the solar days taken throughout a year is called mean solar day, and duration of mean solar day is taken to be 24 hours, that is 86400 second. So initially 1 second was defined as 1 upon 86400 of a mean solar day, but this was not an accurate definition of second. Now the most accurate definition of second is in terms of oscillations of a cesium atom in an atomic clock, and according to this definition, 1 second is the time interval in which cesium atom in an atomic clock completes 9192631,770 oscillations. It means 1 second is the time interval in which cesium atom in an atomic clock completes 9192631,770 oscillations. Now next is Kelvin. Kelvin is the SI unit of temperature, and reference standards for measurement of temperature are taken as boiling point of water, that is 100 degrees Celsius or 373.15 Kelvin, and melting point of ice, that is 0 degrees Celsius or 273.15 Kelvin. If we will take the difference of boiling point of water and melting point of ice, then this difference will be 100 only. So 1 Kelvin is defined as 1 by 100 of temperature difference of boiling point of water and melting point of ice. Now if we come to ampere, then to define ampere we will be requiring two infinitely long straight current carrying conductors placed 1 meter apart in vacuum. If on passing same amount of current either in same direction or in opposite directions, if on passing same amount of current through two infinitely long straight current carrying conductors placed 1 meter apart in vacuum, each of these two conductors exerts a force of 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per meter length of the other, then current flowing through these conductors will be called 1 ampere. It means on passing 1 ampere of current through these wires, first wire will exert a force of 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per meter length of the second wire, while second wire will exert a force of 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per meter length of the first, because every action has equal and opposite reactions. Now the next is candela. Candela is the SI unit of luminous intensity, and to define candela we must be knowing about a black body. A black body is a body with absorbing power 100%. If a black body will be exposed to the radiations, then it will absorb all the radiations incident on it. But if it will be taken to a place where there is deficiency of radiations, then it will begin to emit those radiations. Thus, a black body, when placed in a region which is deficient in radiations, will begin to emit radiations. If a perfectly black body is kept at melting point of platinum and almost at a pressure of 1 atmosphere, then 1 upon 60 of the luminous intensity of 1 centimeter square area of a perfectly black body will be termed as 1 candela. If we are taking this area in meter square, then 1 meter square means 60 multiplied by 100 into 100. It means 1 upon 6 lakh of the luminous intensity of 1 meter square area of a perfectly black body kept at freezing point of platinum and almost at 1 atmospheric pressure will be called 1 candela. So it is your choice. You may define by taking 1 by 60 of 1 centimeter square area or 1 by 6 lakh of 1 meter square area. Now the next is mole. Mole is the SI unit of amount of substance, and 1 mole is defined as the amount of substance containing as much constituent particles of that substance as Avogadro's number. So 1 mole is the amount of substance containing 6.023 into 10 to the power 26 constituent particles of that substance. Now when we come to the definition of radian, radian is the SI unit of angle, and we know that angle is equal to arc upon radius. If arc length becomes equal in magnitude to the radius, then arc length upon radius will become 1, means angle will become 1 radian. That is, if arc is equal to radius, then angle is equal to 1 radian, and it gives the definition of 1 radian. 1 radian is defined as the angle subtended by an arc of length equal to the radius of circle at the center of circle. Now next is steradian. Steradian is the SI unit of solid angle, and we know that solid angle is equal to area upon radius square in case of sphere. Area on the surface of sphere divided by radius of sphere square. If area on the surface of sphere is of magnitude equal to the square of radius, then solid angle omega will be a and r square being equal will be 1 steradian. So we may say 1 steradian is the solid angle subtended by an area on the surface of a sphere having magnitude equal to the square of radius at the center of sphere. It means 1 steradian will be the solid angle subtended by a surface of area equal to radius square at the center of sphere. It was all about the definitions of fundamental units. In our next video, we will study about the non-metric units of mass, length and time, and also about the measurement of mass, length and time.